Are you from Washington?
No, I'm from Zagreb.
Oh, you're from Zagreb? Oh, are you a student here?
I'm a student in New York.
Oh, okay.
How many guys is that? Run away!
As a man who is a voice for the people of all of former Yugoslavia, and who has been able, in a situation with a busy schedule, to come down here on his own accord to speak with us today. He is the president of the Albania American Civic League. He's a former congressman, and I would like you to welcome the Honorable Joe DioGuardi.
Thank you very much. God bless you. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. This is the kind of gathering we have. This is the best of the American tradition, what you see here today. But I wish I could say that I was proud to be American today. But yes, I'm not proud to be American today. Not when we see in the papers every day the kind of brutality that the Serbian communists and nationalists are perpetuating and perpetrating on the good people of Bosnia. You know, it didn't start in Bosnia. When I, as a citizen, this is not a political rally. This is a human experience. But I'm here also to represent my father's blood. He was Albanian. He died several years ago. He was proud to be Albanian, made me proud to be Albanian, but also made me proud to be American so that we could stand up wherever there was injustice. And that is the great American tradition. But you know, you can't do this today on the streets of Kosovo. You can't assemble today on the streets of Bosnia or Montenegro or Macedonia, anywhere where the Serbian communists have influence, because they don't know what the rule of law is. They were not trained in the rule of law. They were trained in communism. And Slobodan Milosevic is the worst of both worlds. He's a Stalinist communist and he's a nationalist. And to make that point, because this is not new, let me read you the letter I sent the New York Times on April the 20th, 1992, as president of the Civic League. And by the way, we just completed this 300-page book on the atrocities of the Serbs against the Albanians of Kosovo, because they started occupying Kosovo in 1989. And what you're seeing today in Bosnia, they've been doing quietly in Kosovo, so the world doesn't see it. Just like Hitler did it for the Jews for 5 years during World War II, we must stand up now. We cannot see that happen again. And by the way, if this isn't anything today, it's a wake-up call to George Bush and Baker and Eagleburger to watch out, because the people are mad and they're speaking. And they should remember what happened to their U.S. Attorney General, Mr. Thornburg, when he wanted to become senator in Pennsylvania. And you'll hear that from our Croatian friends. They sent him a strong signal because they walked away from the Croatians and the Slovenians and the Bosnians and so many people. And you know what they did in Pennsylvania? They walked away from George Bush's friend, Thornburg. And if George Bush is not careful, they will do that to him. And it's important that we're here today. I'm a Republican and I support George Bush, but I do not support this failed State Department policy. It must be changed, and it must be changed now. But let me read you this letter, because this letter was distributed to the White House, to the State Department. It went to the Times, and this was to congratulate the New York Times for speaking out for the first time in strong terms against Milosevic, and they called him the butcher of the Balkans. And I said to the New York Times editor, your editorial of April 15th, the butcher of the Balkans, claiming that the Serbian Communist Party boss, Slobodan Milosevic, is almost as bad as Saddam Hussein, is about a year late and still short of the mark. Milosevic is the equal of Saddam Hussein, and I dare say he is as bad as Adolf Hitler himself when it comes to the Albanians in former Yugoslavia. The brutal tactics used by Milosevic's Serbian communist armed forces, regular or irregular, against the Croatian people and now the South Slav Muslims of Bosnia are the equal to Saddam Hussein's treachery and the barbaric treatment of 2 million Albanians in Kosovo, an unarmed pacifist population. Since martial law was imposed in Kosovo in 1989, easily qualifies Milosevic's Serbian, nationalist, chauvinist, and communist regime as the heir apparent to Hitler's Third Reich, and we see it today. This was last April, and now we see the death camps in Bosnia. Why didn't someone read this in the State Department out loud? I sent it there. We have been seeing for years what this Serbian communist treachery is all about. They've been sending home Albanian boys in coffins with their eyes out, with their bodies open, with all their organs removed, and they tell the Albanian mothers, don't dare open up that coffin, your son committed suicide. Well, some of those Albanian mothers opened up their coffins, and in the back of this book, I have a picture of one Albanian soldier, and you can see how they opened up his body and stitched him up. They didn't want the mother to see him. They brutalized him. He did not commit suicide. He had bullet wounds in his back, bullet wounds in his front. This was in 1989, and it's going on today. When is America going to wake up? George Bush did nothing when he saw the Serbian occupation of Kosovo in 1989. He did nothing when Senator Pell, the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee of Congress, went there at our urging to Kosovo and Macedonia and in those areas, Zagreb, to see what was going on. There were hearings in Congress. They condemned the Serbs. There was a hearing on February 21st, 1991. Senator Biden, over a year ago, there was testimony by Slovenians, Croatians, Albanians, and so many others, and nothing was done. He heard from Senator Dole when Dole came back. He went there, Senator Dole, with 6 United States senators, and came back to say that he couldn't believe what he saw. The tear gas used to disperse tens of thousands of Albanians so they couldn't see Bob Dole. He came to report that at the hearing. In fact, Senator Dole testified on February 21st, 1991, and still Mr. Eagleburger decided to do nothing. And what happened when the bombs were dropping on Dubrovnik? Dubrovnik! You remember Dubrovnik in our history 215 years ago, named Ragusa, the first country to recognize the independence of the United States of America was the Croatian country. And what did we do for them? Nothing. So we have a failed foreign policy. You know, a great American, Martin Luther King, said, if there is injustice anywhere, then justice is threatened everywhere. That's why we're here today. We are safe here. We know that. We could be doing a lot of things with our time today, but we're here because we have to heed the words of great people like that civil rights activist, Martin Luther King. We have to stand up for people who are oppressed. That's what the United States is all about. It's not oil, it's not guns, it's people. And wherever people are oppressed, we should be first, not last. And we were last in the Baltics. We're last in the Balkans. What is going wrong with America? Well, that's why you're here. We must sound the alarm. that the people are coming, and they will come on election day. And make sure they hear your voice then. Now, I had the great occasion to be with someone who could not be here today, but she's here in spirit. I met her in Albania. In the last 2 years, I went to Albania 5 times, Kosovo 5 times, Macedonia twice, Zagreb once. And when I go, I have to wear a bulletproof vest because my life is threatened all the time. When I went to Pristina with Congressman Lantos to talk to the people and to criticize the Serbs for their outrageous human rights behavior, which every group has seen, every group, Amnesty International, Helsinki, and they've reported on it. Even our own State Department knows that. I was banned for 5 years. Can you imagine? Slobodan Milosevic doesn't want you to know what's going on. Like Hitler did not want you to know what he's doing to the Jews in World War II. They want to keep it quiet. But I met with Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa, as you probably know, is Albanian. I met with her in the new convent, and thank God the communists are now out of Albania, and they're opening up the churches and the mosques and the synagogues every day, and this is great to see this. But I prayed with Mother Teresa. I went to Jesuit schools for 8 years, and you know, God may have many faces, but he has one heart. Maybe a she, I should say he or she has one heart. But God is in our hearts no matter how we describe him. And I prayed with her, and she was so impressed when I said the Memorare, remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thy intercession was left unaided. And you know the rest. She said, Congressman, wait. And she went upstairs and she says, I want to give you a traveling companion. And she gave me the statue of Our Lady. I'm thinking of the shrine of DioGuardi. And she kissed it and she said, anytime you go to help the poor people of the Balkans, she didn't mean just the Albanians. She knew about the Croatians and the Bosnians. She said, take this with you. And I took it with me today. By the way, I also carry it when I take a plane, because I figured this might help me if the plane goes wrong. But in any case, I have it here and I carry it with me because she can't be here, but you know that she prays every day for her people and the people of the Balkans. Now, thank you. There was another great statesman, I think his name was Edmund Burke, who said, all that is necessary for evil to prevail is that good people do nothing. And that's what we have to watch out for, complacency. Sitting back saying, this is not my problem, it's happening over there, not over here, and we're getting that kind of feeling now from our misguided State Department policy, and this is wrong. See, you are good people. You came here this morning. I see my wonderful friends from New York, the Albanians, and I see the Croatians, and I see the Turks, all my wonderful Turkish friends, and I'll say thank you in Turkish, teşekkür ederim, for coming today. It's wonderful to see this outpouring. And let me also, before I forget, thank Paul O'Brien and Dr. Blaskovic for doing this, because it's not easy to be a leader, to take an initiative. It's not easy to stir people up. We are all busy, we are all distracted, but it's important that we do this, and it's great that you're here today. Now, I spoke about the need for action. And let me agree with Dr. Sachabegovic when he said that there is a role for NATO. I went to visit President Özal from Turkey in his hospital room when he was in Houston about 6 weeks ago. And I went with a group of Albanians, but I spoke also for Bosnia and Croatia, because I know the Turkish government has a vested interest in that area. I know there are many Albanians in Turkey and Bosnians and so many others. And you know, he's a good leader, because at the end of that conversation he said, you're right, enough is enough. I will go back and make an announcement. And he told us that day that the best role for NATO to play in the Cold War era, after the era, is now to take a lead in this area to keep the peace, and that Turkey was willing to give its fair share of Turkish soldiers to that. He did not want to do it alone, and I understand that. Just like I don't ask George Bush just to send American troops, but someone has to take the lead. Someone has to light the fire. Someone has to lead the charge. We have to do this. And let me say this, on my last trip to Macedonia in January and Albania, I went from there to Brussels to speak to the European Parliament as a former congressman, as the president of the Albanian American Civic League, but mainly as a concerned American citizen, because that's the best role we play in America, to be concerned and involved. That's the story of America, my friends, to be involved as citizens on Main Street, because the real power in America is not in the White House, not in the Capitol, not on Wall Street, it's on Main Street. It's we the people. That's our Constitution, but you have to be involved to do that. And let me just read from a letter that I left in Bonn, Germany, to the advisor of Mr. Genscher and Chairman Kohl, because they did the right thing in Croatia. They saw the need to take a leadership role, and they recognized Croatia, and God bless them for doing that. And now we must be sure we do the same with the other independent republics, or those who want independence, including Kosovo, because there are 2 million Albanians there. And by the way, today, as I said in that hearing on February 21st, 1991, in the heart of Europe, you have apartheid. You have 8% of the population Serbs controlling 92%, the Albanians. That is apartheid. It should not be there. It is the Warsaw Ghetto all over again. And you know, the Albanian people, they have their own Nelson Mandela. His name is Adem Damaci. He spent 28 years in Serbian jails, and much of that solitary confinement. He was only let out a couple of years ago. So let me just look at this letter I sent to Dr. Liebel, because I see here something that we can't forget. What's happening in Bosnia today was written in a memo that a Serb academician wrote in 1937. His name was Vaso Tribulovic. It was like Göring's memo to Hitler when he said, we have to solve the Jewish question. And that memo was written in 1937, and you know what it was titled? The Plan for the Expulsion of the Albanians. That was the title. What he said in that memo, and I brought it with me to Bonn, was that we must confuse the Albanians. They are Muslims. They are easily made paranoid. We must get their clergy. We must take their leaders. If they don't listen to us, if we can't buy them, we must kill them. And if that doesn't work, we must go into the villages and burn them down. We must get them out, because this is Serbian property. This is what's happening in Bosnia. It is written. All we have to do is send George Bush that memo, and he can see what's happening. Well, I'm pleased to be here. I know you have many other speakers to hear. I hope that our voice carries across this wonderful park to the White House, because we do not want to see another Holocaust in Europe today. Enough is enough. God bless you.